World Cup is brought to you by Konica, Opel, and JVC Hi-Fi TV and Video.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the winningest team in North America.
And a very good morning from Archie McPherson. This morning, Eurosport extends its increasing football coverage by crossing the Atlantic to Florida. And the cosmopolitan city of Miami, with its huge Latin population, is about to feast itself on Brazil and Mexico, both of whose natures is attacking, attractive football. There's the Mexican side trotting out to a huge support. The Brazilians always carry a big support anyway, but the Mexicans have come in droves as well. Brazil, already qualified as world champions, are about to embark on a world tour culminating in the Tournoi de France in June, where they'll take on France, Italy and England. Tonight, their opponents are Mexico, who are almost certain to qualify from their CONCACAF group, where they are really top of their group and going very strongly. And it looks to me as if nothing can stop them from getting to France. And this game in the Orange Bowl in Miami, and I'm told our pitchers have broken up at the moment. We'll try to get back to that in a minute. As I said about the Mexican side, we watched them playing on Eurosport when they played the United States very recently. They went 1 goal up through Hermosillo, who'll be playing tonight. And we'll be back to pictures in just a few seconds. And as I said, Hermosillo scored an opening goal against the United States, and that served them very well as the States came back fighting against them. But the Mexicans showing they were really exceptionally good in midfield and very, very fast. And so Brazil will be put to the test tonight. This is friendly, of course, but Brazil never really play friendlies. They always try to attack, entertain the public, and that's the most important thing of all. That's why, of course, they attract so much publicity and attention. The great stars will be playing tonight, of course. Exciting to see players like Ronaldo and Romario together. Getting a shot there of Ronaldo, the young man who's now with Barcelona. Both Ronaldo and Romario, by sheer coincidence, played for both PSV and Barcelona. Romario now back in the Brazilian squad. Although I have to say, and sometimes you can take your mind off football from time to time, and our television director giving us a very pleasant sight right at the start to whet our appetites, and these Brazilian supporters really living it up at the moment and getting ready. This is a shot as the bus arrived before the game. Ronaldo has his own fan club, of course, and Ronaldo, as I said, playing with Romario. That's the most exciting combination. Joining me tonight is a man, and it's just a sheer coincidence, his name happens to be Brazil. Alan Brazil, of course, Scotland and Ipswich striker, who is going to be assisting me tonight in this game. Alan, under any circumstances, watching two players like Ronaldo and Romario together is always an exciting prospect.
Oh, without a doubt, I'm really looking forward to it. It's always lovely to watch Brazil, and especially tonight. You know, you can say it's a friendly, but looking at the pictures here, full house, the pitch looks absolutely perfect. It's going to be a humid atmosphere, and I'm sure as the pressure's off this evening, we're going to see a few tricks from the likes of Ronaldo, Romario. There'll be great passing, great movement, hopefully some long-range shooting. But the Mexicans here, they'll be, you know, of course they're the underdogs tonight, but at the same time, there's a lot of pride at stake. And when you take on the reigning world champions, you know, it can't really be too much of a friendly. So I'm hoping Mexico will put up a good fight tonight. But the Brazilian side, very exciting. They've got to be favourites once again for the World Cup finals in France, and they'll be looking to put on a show tonight, especially with a big crowd in the United States, where soccer is really taking off at long last.
Well, there we are, the Brazilian side, and they're going through them at the moment. A very exciting prospect of mix of experienced players
Number 10.
and entirely new players like Jalminho.
And number 11.
That's the side there of Leonardo, who's missed the game tonight for Paris Saint-Germain. Romario is there, of course.
The Brazilian national team is
It shows you how important the Brazilian preparation for the World Cup is. that they are not allowing some of the key players to play in very important club games. PSG, Paris Saint-Germain were playing an extremely important game tonight, but no, they said, nothing doing, Leonardo, you must come across and play this game.
Well, Brazil, you know, soccer in Brazil is, there's nothing more important, to be honest. And Brazilian players, I don't think they argue about it. When there's an international game, friendly or not, they're expected to be there and be part of the squad, part of the team. And there's no arguing whatsoever.
National anthems now. Mexican national anthem, and you can hear, judging by the sound in the background, the extent of the Mexican support. Now the Brazilian. Well, there we are. That's very, very long Brazilian national anthem. We've both heard it, Alan and I, so often, and you just keep waiting for it to end so we can get on with the football. And the football tonight, of course, between two nations who played each other 21 times. And, of course, Brazil with a much better record with 13 victories. But very significantly, not just an historic thing, but a psychological one as well, is the last time that Brazil lost a game since the World Cup was in the Gold Cup in '96, where they lost by 2 goals to 0. There are the teams, by the way, Alan, and it's a strong-looking side.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, Dunga still in there. Good player for Brazil. Solid. Likes to win the ball, gives it simple. But the forward line, Ronaldo, is very, very special. I know my old boss, Bobby Robson, raves about this man in Barcelona. He is some player. But the Mexicans, well, you know, we'll see what they're made of tonight. I wasn't too impressed when they played England at Wembley. And the Mexican side there's a couple of decent players in there. Hernandez, Garcia is a good player. They like to pass the ball, but I just feel the Brazilians tonight, in the heat of Miami, are really going to turn the heat up. Great spectacle when Brazil play, and let's hope it's not a dirty game. Let's hope it's nice and open with a lot of flair.
Well, I mentioned the fact that we had a victory by Mexico, which was rather surprising, 2-0 in the Gold Cup. It's not in the Brazilian historical statistics. They won't allow that to go in. They say it was an Olympic side they beat. Well, the two teams crossing over there, that was a shot there of Romario. As I said, they're so sensitive about the defeat of Brazilians. That is obliterated from their records, that defeat by Mexico. So they're going after revenge tonight. The referee, Esse Bahamast, and he's in control of the game, which I think should be a very entertaining and open one. And I doubt very much if he'll have all that much difficulty. Every now and again, of course, the Brazilians can be as tough as anybody else. And indeed, Alan, watching Brazilian club football, of which we did a great deal in Eurosport over the years, I would say it's as vicious as any other league I've ever watched.
Without a doubt. Normally, Archie, the dry summers they have, the pitches are bobbly, but they can look after themselves, you know. I remember playing against them a couple of times, Brazilian players, and they're quietly, you know, quiet assassins. But there's no doubting their skill and flair. It's tremendous to watch, and hopefully win him for a treat.
I just wonder what his intentions are bringing a player like Dunga back. I mean, he's 34 years of age, and off we go into the first half, and it's all about Mario Zagallo trying to get a blend and a spirit and cooperation from his players for the World Cup. Because we do know he didn't fancy Romario all that much, but they're starting very quickly. And that ball is touched away there by Luis Hernandez, who played recently and extremely well against the United States. And that opening burst there going right through the middle. Roberto Carlos picking that up, heading for goal. Touched away there by Marcio Santos. And the ball on this surface, I think, will be knocked about well. Played in by Roberto Carlos again with that wonderful left foot of his. Touched out to the side. Leonardo got that touch. Now watch the play of Cafu on the right-hand side. There he is. Wonderfully explosive player. And one flaw about him, Alan would notice he can get to the box, but he's in fact a poor finisher.
Yeah, sometimes the final ball can let them down, but you can tell in these opening minutes the Brazilians are really up for it. They fancy treating this Miami crowd. They're looking for a few goals. You know, we've always said if Brazil had a solid defence, they'd win everything. But there's no, you know, you can't get away from the flair and the excitement they give us.
That's a mistake there all the same by Mauro Silva. And it's just over Tafarel. Having a very close look at that. And decided to shave his head. Looking rather different from the last time we saw him.
Very confident goalkeeper.
Actually, well, he's played for Parma, Reggiana, 2 World Cups. He's got that behind him.
Earlier in an interview he was saying, we don't care who we play. If we perform, we beat anyone. That's how confident he is.
Picked up there, Jamina. Well, Ronaldo had come back very deep. Leonardo with that explosion again. That's a good left foot. And the ball just drifting away. And as you said, I mean, they've started excitingly.
Without a doubt, and I just feel that if an early goal comes, then the Mexicans are really, it's going to be another Alamo. They're going to be up against it.
Well, he looks rather angelic, doesn't he? He's the man who put the elbow in Tab Ramos in that famous game, or infamous game in Pasadena.
This is what I love about the Brazilian side, though. Anywhere around the 18-yard box, they just have a little look up and bang. They have a strike on goal. They're never scared to have a shot on goal.
What Paris Saint-Germain have done with this man is push him much further forward than he was with the 94 Brazil World squad, and it's worked out for them. He scored 10 goals this season, which is not bad going for a man who was ostensibly a defender. Tafarel. Knocking that ball about, played down the side by Cafu. Said about him, of course, and I think as a result of his European experience, it bears it out that he's maybe just a bit shaky defensively. He looks spectacular coming forward, but he's very often caught out of position. He went to Real Madrid, then back to Palmeiras, and then on to Zaragoza. Now back in Brazil again, and that's a free kick. Brought down on that far side. That was Garcia Aspe, the captain of the side. Watch the way that Dunga and then Cafu try to shatter the man right to the touchline. This is Zagwe, tallest Mexican in the squad, tall, fair-haired player, whose father, by the way, was Brazilian, could have played for Brazil. 4 minutes into the game, still no scoring on. Alan, you watch the rather impoverished pitches towards the end of the season in UK football. This looks like a paradise.
I say it's absolutely beautiful.
Now here's, there's no offside in this, and it's just in, yes. Wonderful break forward there by Leonardo, the player we were talking about, in 4.5 minutes. To be absolutely precise, he took that one through the middle. As I've said about him, he's a noted goal scorer from midfield in French football, and absolutely delighted as Brazil go 1-up.
Yes, a lovely deep run, beautiful ball. Leonardo getting in between the two Mexican defenders, and the finish just tucks it away lovely with the left foot. And this is the start we wanted. Now we're really going to see the Brazilian side. Exquisite ball, left foot finish, goalkeeper tries to narrow the angle, and Leonardo with another beautiful forward run, he puts the Brazilians 1-up.
Great ball by Jalmina. Now Jalmina's a new player, Alan, a relatively new player. He's only had 4 caps. Here they go again. Just taken away there in the middle by Davino.
There must be a joy as a new young player to come into this Brazilian side. Oozing with confidence. You know, everyone's so comfortable on the ball. What a great help you get as a youngster coming into a side like this.
Garcia Aspe doesn't pick that up cleanly enough, and this is where the danger can start, of course. From this position, Leonardo put it inside to Jalmino. Back to Leonardo again. And they're almost running right. And remember, this is perhaps the strongest of the Mexican sides that they could put out. There's only one change from the side that played very well against the United States at the weekend.
Well, I said if Brazil got an early one, there could be, you know, plenty goals this morning. And I've got a feeling that's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 3 or 4 job.
That's Cafu on the far side again. Certainly full of spirit. Shot there in Mario Zagallo. Ruminative, 64 years of age now. Mattos had plenty World Cup experience, both as a player and as a coach. And here at the back there, Pelayes. That's the one change they've made in the team, which played in the States and Boston recently. Put inside by Hernandez.
I think the Brazilian movement was so good. They're obviously very scared about this fella, Ronaldo, Romario, where they split the two big centre-halves, and suddenly there was Leonardo making a beautiful run from deep. And that's the beauty about this Brazilian side. Great movement.
Ball taken away there. Tried to come in to get hold of it was Galindo. Well, he's causing a lot of problems on this left-hand side, Leonardo. Swept out there by Coyote. A bit of space there for Zagwe, but just a little bit laggardly in coming forward. Mario plays deep. Gets the support he wanted. Ronaldo. And overpowered there. Just far too many Mexican defenders coming back there. Played by Garcia Aspe. Out now to Suarez. And a quick rat-a-tat of play by the Brazilians, who, as Alan said, are looking very sharp indeed. And that, I think, meant on this left-hand side for Ronaldo to run onto. Just a little bit slack there. Romario had come back a little bit deeper.
Yeah, Romario came deep there, silky skills. Ronaldo's just playing inside left channel, but Romario was it was a bit of a body check there. Found himself on the beautiful turf. But the Brazilians, they fancy this, don't they? Silky skills, the back flicks, the dummies. We're going to get the full repertoire this morning.
Played forward there by Pardo. Pardo, a very useful player, played against the States. Made her debut as an 18-year-old. Played in the 96 Olympics team as well, so there's a great deal of experience in the side too. And they play lots of games, the Mexicans. Long and deep, headed away by Davino. Well, the Mexicans have almost had the breath knocked out of them by this startling start by Brazil. Touched in there by Pales. Hernandez. A little bit too far, and Zague did a little bit of pushing, and surprisingly, the referee, Mr. Bahamas, waves play on.
Yeah, I think the Brazilian defence there, Cruz, was looking for Taffarelli to come for that. Not very happy there with his goalkeeper.
There's a beautiful little ball played to this man. He's a very good player. Number 15, Luis Hernandez, who was sent off against the USA. He is a bit fiery. Got a second yellow card for retaliation.
Yeah, Carlos just caught him there, just about to cross the ball, and it was a late challenge. And this is perhaps where the Mexicans are going to be dangerous.
Well, we've got Hernandez to take this himself. And no, he's left it to Benjamin Galindo, the veteran of the side, 36 years of age. And it goes, and just got away, and it was right in the middle there was Marcio Santos. Flicked forward there by Cruz. There's a mistake. They could be vulnerable here. That's the ball played again. And Ronaldo will never get that. Ronaldo playing for Barcelona at the moment. And talking about your old boss, he has helped them get into the Cup Winners' Cup final, which they'll probably win, into the Spanish Cup final, which they'll probably win, finish second in the league, and they want to sack your old boss.
That's quite incredible, you know, Bobby Robson. Great success wherever he's been. And to think you can win a European trophy, win your Spanish Cup, and probably finish second in your domestic league, it's quite incredible. It's not good enough for Barca.
I hear it. Played out there to Galindo. Garcia Aspe, I think, fouled this time. Yes, he'll get the free kick for that.
Well, I'm pleased to say that the Mexicans are at least rallying now. You know, I felt when the first goal, an early goal went in, it was backs to the wall. It could be, you know, a cricket score, but at least Mexico now trying to get forward into the final third.
Well, Garcia Aspe, the captain of the side, a very experienced player. 68 caps he's now had. Very much the playmaker of the side. You might recall him from the World Cup. That's played beautifully now, Romario. How dangerous he is when he locks him out here. He's wriggled free and he gets a penalty, I think. It can only be that. There's no need to complain. He even smiled, I think, a moment, and the referee almost treating it jocularly, but that's a penalty.
Well, we see him give a penalty away against England at Wembley. The same player, Romario, jinked his way into the box. I felt maybe he made a bit of a meal of it, but the referee is having none of it. He was right on the spot. He's pointed to the spot, and Mexico can protest all they like, but this little fella here, I think he'll bang it straight in the back of the net.
Well, Romario has scored 32 goals for Brazil in his career. And he's fought very hard to get back into the side because Mario Zagallo doesn't want him as a personality. But you cannot keep talent back. Can't subdue it. And there he was, that wonderful scintillating burst. And here he is. He's against Adolfo Rios in goal for Mexico. Taking his time about it. And sweeps it in, and that was almost a neat piece of geometry, wasn't it?
That's quite incredible. This Brazilian side absolutely brimming with confidence. You know, that was almost a practice match penalty. One step back, looks at the goalkeeper and tucks it away to Rios' right-hand side. Superb, full of confidence. Here he jiggles his way in the box. The contact's here, and I think the Mexicans are very unlucky. I think
from that
Mario definitely made a meal of that, and I think now Mexico are really going to have to raise their game, or they're in for an absolute hiding.
Well, I think that man there, looking at the way his side are playing at the moment with spirit, and I think that's what they lacked in one or two of the other friendlies. I think the very nearness of the World Cup and the proximity of the World Tour has acted as a stimulant for them tonight. But I may say, looking at that last angle we saw, the slow motion replay, Romario worked for that penalty successfully. A bit of histrionics. Now whipped away there Touched away by Roberto Carlos, not very effectively. Up goes Marcio Santos. And coming in very quickly there, trying to pick it up was Coyote. Now picked up there by Galindo. Looks for a little 1-2 and it doesn't come. Stepping in there very quickly, Cruz to get that away. Now, I'm quite sure this big fellow here would like to get on a score sheet as well. Leonardo and Romario. Ronaldo will want in now. Romario. Oh, it's almost taken apart there. There was a huge gap opening up on the left-hand side. Well, Ronaldo had come back deep again, and I think may have hurt himself. Anyway, it still remains 2-0 to Brazil.
Well, Romario, when Ronaldo went down in the box for the penalty, he was congratulating him. He had a grimace on his face. I feel a few moments earlier he took a knock on that right leg, and he doesn't look at all happy.
Leonardo. Romario coming back down this left-hand side. Look at the way he's forced. Almost over the touchline there.
They're almost arrogant the way the Brazilians play. When their heads are up and they've got a nice lead, it's beach football. Beautiful, silky touches, skills, and great awareness.
Leonardo. Getting it right through. Romario's getting in there, and that's just beyond Ronaldo. Dragging the player with him. Maybe not quite yet, Alan, having that deftness that Romario has, but a much more powerful looking player.
Oh, without a doubt. I think he's very instinctive. You know, I don't think he's much of a build-up player. He doesn't like to play outside the box. But give him a chance, half a chance, the ball hits the back of the net.
Aspe. Nicely taken down. This is the man the Brazilians will have to watch. Well, at this moment, there's, apparently no contest. But nevertheless, if they get going at all, the right-hand side of this Mexican attack can be very effective. Played forward by Perez. Zague running into that. Beautifully taken away, though. Cafu always looks athletic and easy on the ball. Barbara Silva. They're spreading out again. Leonardo had tried to go across to the left-hand side, but it was picked up too quickly by Romario. Plenty space through the middle there, but suddenly only one Mexican player. Totally outnumbered by that Brazilian defense. Roberto Carlos, there's the penalty again. Well, that's the way they celebrated that.
Yeah,
overjoyed at that start.
Team spirit very important, but can Mexico bounce back?
Well, an attempt there with a header by Hernandez coming in. Haven't seen very much of their top goal scorer, Hermosillo. Scored 36 goals. Too much latitude being given Romario, and almost getting away there. And they really are stretched to the limit. The man who got in there was Suarez.
I think what's important to me actually is the Brazilian defence. I'd love to see them tested. We know how superb and exciting they are from midfield to forward. They break very quickly. But I'd like to see this Mexican side test out the defence.
Well, I think what the Mexicans don't have is that kind of muscular approach to the game. They're easily brushed off a game, like when I watched them playing in the Copa America against Argentina. They were the better footballing side, but the Argentinians just wore them down. Now, move to the outside by Cafu there. Cafu really at his attacking best. Oh, what a magnificent strike. Oh, dear, Romario.
Wow, what can you say about this man?
Quite astounding. I mean, he didn't blink at all. He just let fly at that. And it hit the back of the net, with the goalkeeper barely moving. So 18 minutes gone, and we've seen one of the most spectacular goals of this season.
This is a great finish. No thoughts about passing, bringing it down. This just comes to the right foot and bang. A Brazilian special, a Romario special. Finds the back of the net, but what a strike this is. From fully 18 yards, top corner, Rios, no chance whatsoever. Great strike. In fact, it was Romario who started the move. Overcomes the ball, they semi-clear it, but he's taking the position up 18 yards out, and when the ball comes to him, goodness me, don't blink, because you'll miss it. Bang, what a goal.
You scored one or two like that yourself, Al. Maybe not just as many as Romario, but...
Not with my right foot I haven't, maybe my left.
Well, in any case, 18 minutes, or just over 18 minutes gone, and that is 3-0. I hope the Mexicans don't become too disheartened, although if you stayed up with us tonight to watch this, you're seeing something very special indeed. Not just a good basic display in midfield, but a team hungry to be spectacular. Ronaldo, and he almost spits it. No. Goalkeeper just getting to that. And it is interesting that given some of the criticism that they've had, and there, by the way, to the right was Bora Milutinovic, who must be wondering whether to throw in the white towel at this stage or not. There it's back again, Romario. I was about to say, Alan, they've been criticised, Brazil, for, given the impression they don't want to play in the friendlies. And I think because of that, and the fact they're going on a world tour where they're going to make lucrative matches, I think they wanted to put on a display tonight.
Oh, without a doubt. You know that they're reigning world champions, there's a lot of pride at stake. Plus people playing for their places.
Whipped in there, too close to the goalkeeper that time, Amora Silva. And what are they trying to plan out? A route back to the dressing room, or maybe 10-man defence?
I think they should be on their knees looking to the skies for some heavenly guidance.
Not down. Hernandez picks it up. Outnumbered. They just want to keep coming on, though. This is more like the Brazil of old. I know it's a friendly, I know it's Mexico, but Alan, I was one of those people a little bit disenchanted about the way they played in the States. Okay, they won the World Cup, but it didn't come out of the Brazilian stable, did it?
Well, I think there was so much pressure on them. But this reminds me of the 70s side. Very casual, so comfortable, confident, tremendous. But I think you have to look at the opposition actually as well, Mexico. They're not top class, I think it's as simple as that. But they're there to be beaten, and Brazil can only do their best, and at the moment they're really thrilling this Miami crowd.
Now here, drifting his way forward there, trying to get past is Ramirez. Getting the free kick out of that, Leonardo can hardly believe it. And the play goes on here, Zagri might put it away, and a good save by Tafarel. Well, they deserved to go there for the way they broke down that Brazilian defence, and as Alan said, we wouldn't mind them being tested tonight to see what they're really like. And the big fellow, the tallest player in the squad, Zagri, whom I'll remember scoring 3 goals against Peru in the Copa America, almost picking up one there. Oh, there's a touch of arrogance about it now, and that was almost to Romario, and at the back was Ronaldo. And a little hopscotch there by Cafu on the right-hand side.
Yeah, superb skills. But again, Ronaldo is looking a little bit out of sorts at the moment. He's going to get plenty chances tonight. He's had a couple of half chances. That was certainly one. And he looks a little bit uncomfortable to me. I just wonder if he's feeling an injury.
Play to the side to Palace. Hernandez getting a little bit of support from the back by Galindo. They really are turning it on now. They could have done that a little bit more simply, but it's exhibition stuff, and I think they might be taunting the Mexicans just a little bit now. In any case, I think that's the best aspect of Brazilian football. I don't mind them being arrogant, Alan, that they're turning on the style.
I think if you're going to watch a friendly match, you're praying Brazil are in it, because they only know one way to play football, and that's enjoy themselves. Go out, they try their tricks. It's incredible. They learn from an early age, on the beach, on the streets, with cans, with little tennis balls, and goodness me, when they're on song, it's tremendous to watch.
Now to take this, Galindo, free kick expert, the veteran of the side, 36 years of age, aiming up for it, and out stretches the foot of Cruz and gets that away. And the Mexicans just try to put on a little bit of pressure thrashed as they have been so far. Now Zagwe's gone inside into the penalty area. Normally he comes in from the left-hand side, but well marked that time. Well, we've been doing some friendlies in Eurosport, and you'll be seeing more, of course, of Brazil towards the World Cup. All the major games that they play. But this is the best performance so far. That's in, no! Wrong side of the post. A good effort there. Garcia Aspe picked it up, slipped it inside, and forward came Luis Hernandez, tried to rattle that in. There was a deflection. There's a corner. And that's off the post. Driven in by that left foot of Garcia Aspe, who they rate as one of the hardest strikers of the ball in American football.
Perhaps he hit that too well, because that was a tremendous strike, and there's no way Tafarel was getting anywhere near it.
Here he goes again. This is Aspe. Oh, and it's given away. That looked very promising, and Aspe is really annoyed he didn't get the proper pass that time. Picked up, slipped away to the side as they do, and here is Ronaldo coming in now. Will he get another penalty? What's the referee giving?
Certainly contact, but what a great strike this was. Tafarel, no chance. Just comes about 20 yards, left foot, bang. Heading for the top corner, and that was a let-off for Brazil.
Yes, he's very much a left-sided player. That's a little shot of Garcia Aspe there. Now they're going to get a substitution. Jalminha. Alan?
Yeah, I think he's changing his boots there. But Ronaldo, I felt, was definitely impeded by the goalkeeper, Rios. But as he was going to wait for a goal, I think the referee was perhaps having a little bit of sympathy for the Mexican side.
Well, charity begins at home, they say, but I think this foreign referee had a look at the score and said there's a long way to go yet. So that was an act of mercy, I think. Way by Cafu. Larry had come back rather deep, wanting to see his friends at the other end. There he is. Picks it up here. He's got Cafu on the far side there. His natural tendency to come in here now, Ronaldo. Audacious play by Ronaldo, but I think just putting it on a little bit too much.
I think perhaps the long season in Spain is catching up with Ronaldo. I've certainly seen him look a lot sharper.
Yes, and I think also in Spanish football he's had to use his physique a great deal. You can see him, some of the long runs he's made.
I was going to say, actually, you've made a very valid point. I think Brazil have been allowed to play their silky, their great football here.
Cafu tries to run that pass. Leonardo had come across. Now then, a little bit of a break here. Ramirez trying the longer ball this time. That's not a bad ball, Luis Hernandez. And anybody at the far post. Zagwe had delayed his run into the box. Zagwe coming in from deep on the left-hand side. Watched very carefully by Cafu there.
The Mexicans are certainly not. They're a footballing side. Look at this, superb stuff. But they're not a physical side, and Brazil have got carte blanche here.
Jalminha put that to Ronaldo. Put back again to Leonardo. Tries to stab that through. Garcia Aspe trying to muster the ranks here. Ramirez easily beaten. Wallace Silva brought that away. And picked up, and the runs from here can be so dangerous. Ronaldo does get it through, little back stab there, and in came Ronaldo, and it's wonderful to watch this.
It's exhibition stuff, and I think the Mexican defence, the white flag's coming out because they just have no answer to this movement and one-touch stuff from the Brazilian midfield and especially the forwards.
Well, at times, the Brazilians, when they turn this on, resemble that variety show called the Harlem Globetrotters, who used to go around and play basketball. And, you don't often see it in football. Watch this. That's touchback there. and he couldn't finish.
Ronaldo feeling that, you know, Rios was going to go to ground there, trying a little chip, but look at the body movement. Superb stuff.
So maybe a substitute about to come on here. In fact, I'm certain they really will have to do something to stem the rot, as the Brazilians are playing some of the best football I've seen in a long while. A real warning to everybody, of course, given what we've said about the opposition. There's a deeper ball and so many yellow jerseys running in. Ronaldo. Yes, I think probably, Alan, you're absolutely right about that. There's a kind of weariness about his play compared to the players he's playing alongside.
Oh, without a doubt, you know, Romario's trying desperately hard to link up a great partnership with him.
Cafu. Hard tackle there, and I must say the Brazilians, as that tackle went in there from Ramirez, have been exemplary in the way they've taken this. I mean, other players would cut up rather badly. And after all, the Brazilians are now trying to not deliberately taunt them, but lay on the style so much that it could appear such. Anyway, Dunga comes into this.
It's in the Brazilian makeup. When you're in top and you're cruising 3-0, really rub it in. And I feel Mexico's only chance is they sneak that substitute on without anyone seeing and having 12 men.
Well, it might be very early in the morning, and we'll prefer to take some coffees to keep us awake, you know, but to get this game. But in essence, what we're having is two substitutions. That's exactly what is happening now. I think they're about to bring them on before this corner kick is played. Yes, Onicom and Zague is going off along with Benjamin Galindo, the two experienced players. And on comes Marcelino Bernal and number 4 is coming on at the moment, Alfaro. Anyway, that's almost got there by Rios. Back he goes to Romario. Cafu. They tried to pressurize Cafu just a little bit there. Brought out there, played away by Mauro Silva. Slacker ball this time. The Brazilians seem to be taking a breather. We've got about 14 minutes to the end of this remarkable first half. Seen some excellent play, quite outstanding strikes, and the Mexicans still trying to play football. That's Ramirez again. Hermosillo, the top scorer. He's hardly had a look at the ball so far, and he simply ran into trouble, swept away there. Play, in fact, rather untidy at the moment. Played inside there to the sub, Marcelino Bernal, but he couldn't pick it up. Touched on by Romario, and that's a little bit ambitious by Roberto Carlos.
Carlos, trying to get up this left-hand side. Every time Brazil attack, he's in support. And it's a great confidence the Brazilian side have got. They've always got numbers around the ball, trying to get in support. They're hunting in packs, but when the ball goes forward, there's 3 or 4 bursting to help the likes of Romario and Ronaldo.
Well, we had a glimpse there of the man I thought would pose a threat to the Brazilian side, Luis Hernandez, but it's been nullified quite simply by the brilliant possession of Brazil. Nobody has posed any kind of threat to them, and indeed it's a joy to watch them as they go forward. And thankfully for our audience in Europe who stayed up late to watch this, we've seen Brazil coming somewhere near the kind of Brazilian mold by which their greatness grew. Leonardo, Roberto Carlos. Mauro Silva tries to push that through, and then just pushed away by Jalmina, and he reacted. Inside it goes to Davino. Picked up by the substitute Mandia. And this is where they moved the ball so effectively. Very interestingly, Romario has come back very often, very deep. I'm not sure if this has been a specific instruction. Seems to be quite happy fetching and carrying. Now into Ramirez. Played forward by Galindo, by Coyote. I think they've put a break in the play at the moment. They've done enough, of course, to win the affection of this crowd. The stadium, of course, was a World Cup stadium. We saw some excellent games in that during the World Cup of the States. And now we're getting some of the better football again. Played wide. Pelaez picks it up. Looks inside towards Garcia Aspe. Changes his mind. Roberto Carlos just missing out. Flanked forward by Coyote. And out comes Taffarel, as I said, a very experienced goalkeeper. Going back to Roberto Carlos, when we saw just trying to come forward there and miss timing. He's a man who played spectacularly well in the Copa America, especially for his free kicks, anywhere from about 35 yards out to stunning effect. Didn't settle there well. Actually, now with Real Madrid, Fabio Capello, who's now leaving Real, brought him there. So he plays down this left-hand side, a set to play, of course, in France. Now the Mexican defense, I think, glad of this breather. Headed forward, back towards his own defense there by Jalmina. Here's Taffarel. Quite a phase of the game. Now, what can the Mexicans do about it if the Brazil side's getting slightly more complacent? Touched out there by Hernandez and nobody in the middle there. And I'm wondering if they took off these two experienced players because they felt the legs, they needed some younger legs in there just to hold them at bay a little bit longer.
Well, I think when you're 3-0 down, you have to try something. You know, I'm not sure what the Mexican coach had in mind, but Mexico looked toothless up front. They were no threat at all to the Brazilians. And the only reason why I think Mexico are having a little bit of possession is because Brazil are simply having a little breather. Total control. They can step up another 2 gears should they wish.
Roberto Carlos, Jalina. Getting that back nicely. Leonardo. Picked off by Davino. Well, you can see that camera zooming across the top of the screen there. That's the shot from above the play.
I think there's more movement in the camera there than this Mexican forward line.
And at the moment, Coyote trying to make something of it. Well, they're whistling for some activity, the crowd. They've had plenty spectacle thus far, and as you said, nobody really coming in to exploit the chances they've had. They've had some neat build-ups, and that man remaining quite impassive, Mario Zagallo, one of the most famous of all, a patrician figure in the Brazilian firmament.
I don't think he'd be fooled by this performance. He'd be delighted, of course, 3-0 up.
Well, I think he likes the appetite of Romario. He said a feud with Romario about trying to get him for games and so on. Now here's the break. Leonardo goes away. Backed neatly up here, Jalmina. Romario. Ronaldo signaling for the ball, and I think almost sandwiched there, but the referee turns away from that. Back easily, and almost a leisurely performance at the moment by the Brazil defense. They've allowed them to come forward just a little bit more. Mauro Silva prodded that away. There he is again, Mauro Silva. Just intent in keeping possession at the moment. With the cross by Jalmina. Cafu. Look at the speed of Cafu. He has Ronaldo inside him and just a little bit too far. That has always been his weakness. He starts off in spectacular fashion and just cannot get the finesse near goal. Ronaldo away by Suarez. Well, Garcia Aspe has tried very hard to revive Mexico in midfield. Here he is on the ball now. He's a very talented player, plays for Necaxa now. Played for Valladolid in a previous incarnation, and then came back to Mexico. And he had that tremendous left foot shot, of course. Oh, this is play out to half-time methods now, Alan.
Well, obviously we're very, very hot and sultry there this time of the year, but you know, it's been a sparkling display for a friendly match. 3 goals, and goodness me, wasn't Romario's. His goal was an absolute gem, right foot. But Brazil looking very polished. I'd love Mexico to make a little bit more of a fight, but they just can't get on the ball. Brazil are totally in control, finding each other at ease, and the movement is superb.
Touch forward by Fernandez to Garcia Aspe. Now Hernandez. And that was a late tackle, and I think the first yellow card, the referee just waiting until Hernandez recovers, which I think he probably will. Second yellow card, and Hernandez does get up, and that was the tackle coming in now from Janina and Danigo. Jalmina there from Palmeiras. As I said, the new cap. They played him in 1 or 2 of the friendly games. They really want him to emerge as a leading midfield player, and he's looked useful so far. It was he who put forward that early pass, which almost brought the goal early on in the game. So he's seeing a lot of the ball.
The Mexicans, they can't handle Romario. He's dropping deep, he's getting involved, he's feeding his midfield players, and they don't know whether to man mark him or just let him roam free. And at the moment it's certainly not working for us. 1 minute he's deep, and then suddenly his explosive pace, he's suddenly in behind the defence, and they can't cope with it.
Well, the Brazilian defence, the Mexican defence just playing it a little bit too neatly there. And of course, the very fact that they've been harassed and pressed all the time, I think they've lost their composure a bit. Regained it in the past 5 or 10 minutes, but I think always the apprehension there'll be that break by these players. Well, we've got this aerial camera. I hope it's not making you seasick as you watch the game. Trying out new things here. Now this is the play of what I think is a man who's been in the action perhaps more than anybody else in midfield apart from Garcia Aspe, Coyote. Played by Pardo. That's to the substitute, Mandilla. A little bit slack that time. And another late tackle.
Mexico are definitely getting frustrated now. The Brazilian skills are just beginning to get to them, and a late challenge. He looks as if he's a little bit hurt there, but Silva, you know, he's got the free kick, so maybe he was caught. But Mexico beginning now to you know, lose the rag.
And that was Leonardo coming forward. Little chips here. We're getting some little clips played in of the highlights so far. And there's Mauro Silva down there. He spent 5 years with Bebeto at Deportivo La Coruña. When they brought the Brazilians, he wanted a defender, a midfield defender, and an attacker, and that's exactly. Now here's a tackle coming in now.
Well, certainly caught him on the outside of the left ankle, and it was a late challenge. Good skills again by De Silva. You know, just drags it back, bang, right on the left ankle.
That was committed by Pavel Pardo, who played in the Olympics. And a yellow card for Coyote. Mauro Silva, I think, will recover for that. So there we are, time to half time. We've seen a glorious display by the Brazilians, at least in the first 30 minutes of this game, and on comes Mauro Silva again. And remember, the Brazilians have signed a really lucrative deal, a commercial deal with a major global sports firm, which will net them £200 million in the next 10 years, going straight into the coffers. And the Brazil side, the Brazil Football Federation, doesn't matter where they play, they ask the city that hosts them to pay £300,000 basic. So they know what to do with money. I don't know where it goes, but they get a lot of it.
Well, this type of form, you know, they are the world's most exciting side for me. And wherever on the globe they go, there's always a huge crowd.
Now played forward by Jalminia. Ronaldo had come back a little bit deeper. Leonardo. There's the ball played to Leonardo again. And he threw himself down, I would think, Alan.
Oh, I think that was a 9.9 for that dive. There's no need for that, 3-0 up. You know, again, great movement, 1-2s, but in the end, you know, I think it's a bad gamemanship. And Leonardo's already got his name on the score sheet. I don't think he needs to do that.
Well, played by Cafu and out of touch. There's the man who's had so much experience, Dunga. Well, we had a very brief shot of Dunga. That's Leonardo now. Dunga, by the way, was captain of the side that won the cup in the States, so they know him well here. Here's Cafu. He'll get a free kick for that, I think.
I was just about to say, Archie, it just shows you how much Brazil have been in top, because we've hardly mentioned Dunga's name. He's just sitting in front of the back four, orchestrating moves. Hardly been on the ball, you know, he's left it to the flair players. Perhaps he'll be involved in this free kick.
Well, free kick and pushing away there by Ramirez, and then the final tackle there by Pardo as Coyote slipped the ball away. We have this free kick. And they seem to be enjoying themselves. Broad smile on the face. Jovial nature of the Brazilians. They take the football very seriously, but at least there's a kind of sunny disposition to the way they knock the ball about. And here, about to put this in, is Cruz, Andre Cruz, 29 years of age, 40 caps, and it goes, and neatly taken by Adolfo Rios. And let's offer a sympathetic word to the goalkeeper, because I don't think he'd unearth me for anything.
I think it's the first time he's caught anything clean. I just wondered, every time Brazil get a free kick around the box, you get a bit of excitement, the old hairs stand up in the back of the neck. But this time Cruz trying to pick a fellow player out. It wouldn't have surprised me had he blasted it for goal.
Now Pardo put this in, gets it back again. And I think just to reinvigorate them, the Brazilians might well timelessly lose a goal here, because I think they would kickstart. Anyway, the halftime whistle, the referee calling for the ball as the players come off. Marvelous play, superb strike. I don't think this man has hit any more spectacular goal than we've seen tonight as they go off looking good. Well, there we are. We've given you 3 goals, and we've given you a beautiful Brazilian lady. Words failed me at that stage. I was leaving to Alan to describe that. However, we'll be going to a break, then the news, and coming back to us again. Well, we're back in the stadium again, and your eyes are not deceiving you. It is the same stadium we left at the end of the first half. It has been converted with this brilliant pyrotechnical display, fireworks and laser beams, which I think is commensurate with the performance of Brazil in that first half. We saw something of footballing fireworks from them, incandescent brilliance, especially from Romario, something very, very special indeed. His strike, I think, will be etched in my memory for a long time, and I've seen many, many a goal, and spectacular goal. So let's just show you. We're taking away from something very spectacular, I admit that, but here is a visual delight as well, which matches anything we see here. It is Romario in action. Just watch this coming up. Ball played inside, comes to Romario, and only the net. stop that from ending up in Key West. Alan.
Yeah, it was tremendous. He had to perform tonight, brought back into the side. And goodness me, he'd scored earlier with a penalty, but that was something special. Poor old Rios there, shouting his defence, but I don't think anyone would have stopped that one. That was pure, superb accuracy, and the power he delivers from that right foot from fully 18 yards, bang! Before Rios can react, the ball's in the back of the net. Superb stuff.
Well, this game is heavily sponsored tonight, by the way, and the financing for the firework display was by the sportswear firm as well. But this is the sort of thing that they're interested in. Their stars scoring goals like this.
Especially for a lot of the American crowd as well, the youngsters. But watch this for a strike. Before Rios can move, it's hit the back of the net.
Well, here we see some more replays from the game, and I think that goal again, I think in the first 30 minutes in particular, the Brazilians looked something like, the recollections we have of them in these yellow jerseys from the days of Pele, right through to the World Cup they played in Spain, 2/3 of which was a marvellous performance, and then he got a little bit arrogant against the Italians, and they suffered accordingly. There's been a little touch of arrogance about them tonight, but when you can do that, then you can get away with it. You can be tolerant of these little flicks and teases that they put on individually against opponents.
Well, I think when you're 3-0 up at half-time, you're entitled to a touch of arrogance. But the Brazilians, there's nothing better when the crowd are out their seats and they're playing first-time passing, little dummies, little backflips. Beautiful night in Miami, really looking after the crowd.
It was in the stadium that Branco scored that spectacular free kick against Holland, but there were few instances, and the Bebeto goal as well, there were few instances I can really recollect of that World Cup. This is something much more like the Brazil we have an affection for. Although, let's talk about the opposition for a moment, because the Mexicans can play some very exciting football. They've been in 11 World Cups. They've never gone further than the quarterfinals. None of the players, with the exception of Hugo Sanchez, have been successful playing abroad. Now, it means that there's a basic weakness to the structure of the play.
I think so, they're all home-based. But I think this morning they've been very, very toothless up front. When they've got the ball wide and the ball has gone into the box, there's been no real competitiveness. The Brazilian defenders have always got there first. We had one lovely moment when there was a great shot rifle which hit the angle, came off the bar. It had Taffarelli beaten. But apart from that, they've not really come close to scoring. I think they find it very, very difficult to contain the Brazilians, their movement and their accuracy in passing. They've always got Brazilian players around the ball. When a Brazilian player's in possession, there's always 3 or 4 looking for a pass.
Well, there we are. That's the scoreline from the first half. A couple of goals by Romario, ready to start this second half in a rather misty atmosphere. Well, Romario certainly enjoying it with Ronaldo there. He looks extremely composed, almost as if he's a man deciding to concentrate and give his best again. Let me emphasize that he's had a feud with the coach, Mario Zagallo, but they seem to have come to terms with that. And playing alongside his younger fellow, Ronaldo, who's looked less sharp tonight, as Alan has pointed out. By the way, if you're just joining us, you're coming in from the night shift or getting ready to do anything else at night, then Alan Brazil is beside me, former Scotland and Ipswich striker, who looks especially upon strikers with a little bit of envy.
Oh, without a doubt, I think it's everyone's dream to play for Brazil and wear that number 10 shirt. There's no doubt about it. Tonight it's 11 and 9 who have impressed me in 2 ways. Romario with tremendous movement, coming deep, great first touch, looking really, really hungry. 2 goals, his second goal and Brazil's third was spectacular. Ronaldo, he was smiling a moment earlier there. I think he'd be desperate to get on the score sheet here. 3-0 up, cruising. No goals from the golden boy Ronaldo.
That's Bora Milutinovic, a very pleasant, amiable man who's spent a spell in Mexico. He started off life with Red Star Belgrade. He's a Serbian, and he's made his mark in football by coming to the Caribbean, coaching around the Caribbean, ending up with Mexico very successfully taking them right through to the World Cup, going to the United States. Coach there, now back with Mexico again, although he has his critics. There's no doubt about that. But they did beat Brazil, the Olympic side, Brazilian Olympic side, by 2-0 in the Gold Cup. That's to his credit. Off we go into this second half with we hope the Brazilians beginning to get the dander up again just towards the end. The last 15 minutes, to be honest, I think they were wanting to get in and have a halftime drink. And now, refreshed, we hope we get a repeat of that first 30 minutes, which was as good as anything I've seen from anybody this season. Garcia has come in for Hermosillo. Now, Garcia, of course, is the man who scored a couple of goals against the Republic when they played in the stadium in the World Cup. And he's now, as Ronaldo goes away, look at the strength of this player. Not only has he skill, but as we've seen in Spanish football, he's quite prepared to take on defenses with long runs. Just a slow build-up. On to Roberto Carlos. Romario had come back deep again. Forward by Marcia Santos. Almost as if they're coaxing the Mexicans forward a little. Marcia Santos, that'll go wide again. The crowd urging them forward. Romario. Moro Silva picked that up. And that'll be a free kick, I think. Rather late tackle there. There's a free kick as Jalmina went down. Roberto Carlos. And he puts the ball out of play. Kind of leisurely start here, but I just get the impression they're winding up the spring again to unleash themselves. And there was the tackle, a very wild tackle that, I may say, by Marcelino Bernal, the man who came on as a substitute. Wonder if an arm was used there. The referee raised play on. Played back by Cafu. Well, just a little bit too casual at the moment, the Brazilians, and I wonder if the Mexicans can make anything of this.
Just wonder if the Mexicans were going to get the ball back. The Brazilian player eventually knocking out for a throw-in to give his fellow player a bit of treatment, but up till then, any confidence that the Mexicans were trying to install into the side at half-team was washed away. Brazil stringing together probably 20 passes.
Moro Silva. That was Garcia. Like by Hernandez. Well, that's a careless one. They could really be punished here. The goalkeeper coming out very quickly. Pardo. Chested down, but rather aimlessly. Moro Silva. Romario rather overpowered there, slipping on what is a very good surface indeed. That was Garcia. Ramirez. Oh, that's too much. This little man with the longish hair out on this left-hand side was playing down the right in the first half. They've changed him across now. Not to any great effect so far. Mandilia, number 4. There he is again. That should be cut off, and now this could be dangerous. Leonardo just put it a little bit too much in front of him. Leonardo, who'll be playing in the Cup Winners' Cup final, a game you'll be able to see on Eurosport. He'll be playing for Paris Saint-Germain, of course. That should be a wonderful game because we'll have Barcelona in action as well. And that will include Ronaldo, amongst other things. Now, Mauro Silva. Mauro Silva, the man who plied Bebeto with many of the finer passes for him to score goals, both in Brazilian and in Spanish football. Well, they may be keeping possession, Alan, but it's a rather more negative aspect to the game in this first 6 minutes of the first half.
Well, we'd seen tremendous fireworks at half-time, great display, and I was hoping for fireworks in the second half, but at the moment, Mexico are making it a little bit tougher for Brazil. They're flooding the midfield, they're trying to stop the fluency of passing, and at the moment Brazil are just coasting, taking it easy, but hopefully they'll explode into life shortly.
Well, I think it's obvious that Milutinovic doesn't want demoralization creeping into the Mexico side of important World Cup games to come yet. I mean, they're top of the group, and I think they will qualify, but it would be bad if they ended up on the end of a real hiding. Now, Pelez gets a little bit of support as we zoom Star Wars-like over the pitch.
Well, Mexico, we must give them credit in terms of it is only a friendly. They're playing against the world champions, but Taffarelli's had no problems at all tonight, and you can't really see them upsetting the European sides.
Solid header there by Divino. With a bit of space on his side. Control there by Ronaldo. Tried to shield the ball in part with it. Garcia Aspe going in very hard. The captain tried to lead by example. And certainly the Mexican players will have to provide something of a steady attitude if they want to keep this to 3 goals only. And quite frankly, I'd be very surprised indeed if they were able to score tonight.
Yeah, they had one long-range effort, but that's about it. They've not really got behind and tested the Brazilian defence.
Out on that far side, Hernandez, there he is, just touching it inside. He's gone back to the right wing now. That's a better ball. Ramirez. Oh, and it ends so disappointingly. Well, there's no doubt that the passing of the Brazilians in the first 15 minutes, and he was extremely crisp. Now they've got a little bit slacker now. 3 goals up, maybe that's not too surprising. And Bora Milutinovic, he does have his enemies in the Mexican Federation. They try to get rid of him. The chairman, Enrique Borgia, flew down to Argentina to offer the job to Carlos Bilardo. But the chairman was displaced, and Bora Milutinovic kept his job. And they did a very cunning thing, Alan. They went and were beaten by Jamaica with a weakened side, which meant that Honduras didn't get into the last group, and Honduras were a bigger threat to Mexico. But he took a risk in doing that, and he incurred the wrath of some of the Federation.
I certainly think at half-time, though, they've been telling these players, hey, you're going to be very, very embarrassed here if you don't start closing down and working a little bit harder.
Mario Zagallo. No pressure at the moment on the players at the back. That was Suarez who picked that up. Coyote. Ramirez. Trying the longer ball this time, and Slacker. Just get the impression one or two of these Brazilian players might have felt the job is over. And Mexico finding it very difficult to find a way through. As Alan said, although they are making it harder by having more players in midfield like that, they're finding it very difficult to make any forward movement into the Brazil half.
I think in terms of possession, they're having a lot in the second half, but with no real threat. 3 goals down. You know, fine, let them have the ball. They're not hurting us. That's what the Brazilian defence are saying. But you just get the feeling the Brazilians can just, at the touch of a button, suddenly up a gear or up 2 gears and suddenly hit Mexico on the attack. Fast attacks.
Well, that's played inside and just a little bit too much.
There's a few whistles and boos from the crowd now. They're desperate for Mexico to try and put Brazil under a bit of pressure, get a goal back, and maybe make the world champions play a little bit at a faster pace.
Well, the man you saw shooting there, and the close-up we saw was the substitute Luis Garcia, man who played for Atletico Madrid before coming back to play for the Mexican club America. A very good player too. He scored a couple of goals against the Republic. Used a little bit sparingly now. Well, he's still youngish. I mean, getting to his peak, just turning 29, and Romario. Right there by Cafu, given support. Oh, it's a rather slack ball there by Dunga, which is rather surprising. Normally, he's not the most flamboyant of players, but he's very steady in his passing. Pardo. Looking for the pass inside, and that hesitancy didn't help him out at all. And they get a corner kick. Quite unused to getting this off this Brazilian side. And Mexico have some very important games to come, as I said. They've still to play Canada in the game, still to play Jamaica. Got to make sure that no slip-ups. That was Garcia Aspe. Easy away by Dunga, who'd come back there. That looked like an arm being used for control. Ramirez puts it forward. Here's Hernandez. Well, the Mexicans are getting a little bit better now, but I don't think anybody in that Brazilian defense is fearful of them yet. Leonardo puts it out. Plenty space here now, and that's a blatant obstruction. As Ronaldo was setting off in one of his runs. That's surprising, Alan. No play stopped.
I think the ref's feeling a little bit sorry for the Mexican side, but there's no doubt about it. That is, it's better off than ice hockey, a body check.
Ronaldo disappointed in that, and the play goes on. That's the substitute Mandelia. Luis Garcia. At the back, Davino. Inside by Garcia Aspe. Crossed by Ramirez. Not getting them anywhere, but at least they're keeping possession. Well, they did. Now look at the two front runners here. It could have gone to either of them. Now can he put it away for his hat-trick? And he was too casual about that. I think he wanted to put a little kiss on the ball first. A little bit casual by Romario, heading for this hat-trick.
Yeah, that's where Brazil are so dangerous. I thought it was great vision from Ronaldo. He spotted his strike partner just to his right, and surely this should have been 4 and 3 for Romario. That was a great opportunity, but again, lightning quick on the break, Brazil. And I just feel they can cut through the Mexican defence whenever they want.
Precisely. And I think had the score been nothing each, that ball would have hit the back of the net. Here we have Marcilio Bernal with it. Here's the move again.
Oh, it was good vision. He could have gone in his own. That's a casual finish, and that should have been the back of the net.
Well, Ramirez, Romario, as I said, now scored 34 goals for Brazil. And that one we've seen tonight will be long remembered. He won't remember that one. He's looked very impassive tonight, but normally he does. Fun-loving man, likes to go out for a night. Likes to drop or two of wine, and this is what has put Mario Zagales back up against him.
I think of the two forwards tonight, he certainly looked the sharpest. Okay, he's missed a glorious chance there, but Ronaldo's a lot better than what he's showing this morning.
Garcia Aspe. Trying to get that left foot into operation again. We saw it to spectacular effect in the first half when he almost took the post away. Here's Ramirez. Nicola Ramirez. Well, the possession is there, but Brazil simply shuffling back into their own zone. The last third. Put forward by Ramirez. He's looking for the touch inside again. Here is Hernandez. And no effort at all from Taparel. He had that well enough covered. I like the performance of Gelminia tonight, one of the younger players. As I said, newer caps. He looks settled in midfield. I wonder if Dunga will see the World Cup finals, though. You know, he's 34 now. He'll be well over 35 by the time the World Cup finals come around.
Well, perhaps there's so much flair and pace in the Brazilian side, they feel maybe they need an old head in that midfield, a holding position. Because Brazil, when they get forward, everyone tries to get in the act, and maybe they feel that Dunga's the man who'll sit there and just give his defence a little bit more cover.
Header forward there by Claudio Suarez. And now Brazil are beginning to toy with Mexico. It's not so much a Jekyll and Hyde performance. At the moment, it's a kind of non-performance by Brazil. Reasonably happy to hold on to a 3-goal lead. Not so much hold on to it, but languish in the belief that they're so much better that they don't need to be doing anything extraordinary.
I think the first half is giving the whole world a warning. You know, the way the slick passing, the movement, the arrogance and the brilliance.
Nicely flipped back by Marcio Santos eventually. Marcio Santos saw some time with Bordeaux, then Fiorentina. Did a miserable time at Ajax. He was once sent off in exactly 17 seconds against PSV Eindhoven. I remember talking to Van Gaal about him, and Van Gaal said it was a mistake. It's very difficult to buy players into our system, and because we're so methodical about things, he never quite settled. Now we go Mexico. And one man left up there. That's very ambitious indeed against that Brazilian defence.
This fella here, Hernandez, has worked very, very hard tonight. To no avail. He tried that. I was going to say the shot a few moments ago, but I couldn't really describe it a shot. He has worked hard. He's tried to get beyond the Brazilian defence, but at the moment, Brazil, it's a practice match. They're cruising.
Swept right across there. That's Gelminia I was talking about. Played by Mauro Silva. Cafu inside, wanted to go forward again. I think they might just come with a burst. And did he use a hand to bring that down? The referee says so. Away it goes again. Played forward by Mandilla. Here's the ball coming across there and offside, but he also brought it down with his arm. Now here's the break. Ronaldo. Brazil wishing to put that ball just behind the defense, to use the pause that he has in running at the defense. Now, Coyote. Well, I remember when Mexico played against Argentina in the Copa America final, they played a lot of very fine football. They were killed off by a man called Gabriel Batistuta, who just made sudden busts at them, despite all the possession Mexico had. A bit like this at the moment. Brazil just picking up after they send the ball forward to the edge of the penalty area now. That's beautifully cut inside. There surely must be it. No! The goalkeeper, Adolfo Rios, the man who's playing in place of Jorge Campos, that very colourful character, coming out, thwarting this big fellow again.
There's a lovely ball inside the full-back. You thought Ronaldo was just going to clip it over Rios. and Rios makes a good stop there, gets the slightest of touches.
Should have scored though, Alan. You see it from that angle again.
Without a doubt, he's just not on top of his game, just tries to thread it underneath the goalkeeper Rios, but Rios very quickly getting the vital touch.
That's a wee bit too much. Oh, the goalkeeper, I mean, you could see it committed himself, and then the sudden curl on the ball there. Great ball by Leonardo.
Without a doubt. I'm just wondering if it was a cross or was it an attempt on goal. It curls at the last moment, and that's just touched onto the crossbar. Very, very close indeed. He has a little look up. Look at the bend on this.
Well, very recently we saw Brian Laudrup scoring a marvellous goal for Denmark in a game, and something like that, the ball went in the back of the net. I saw him a week later and asked him if he'd tried it. He said, no, I just aimed for the far post. So I think that may be the same with Leonardo.
For the Brazilians, the masters, they can do anything with the ball. They can move it from right to left and vice versa. They really are wonderful when they're confident, and that was very close to being a fourth goal.
Cruz put that forward. They're looking so easy. Okay, they're not doing all that much towards goal at the moment, the Brazilians. Now play to Cafu. Well, Cafu should have done better in Europe. Didn't settle in as he thought he might. Well, Nicola Ramirez about to come on here. Not quite sure who's going to come off for him. Well, in fact, it's Ramon Ramirez. So his namesake goes off. I thought his namesake saw a lot of ball in the first half, coming down the left-hand side. So Ramon Ramirez now on. Not that it will make much difference. That just hooked away. And we're now almost halfway through the second half.
Ladies and gentlemen, taking 1-12.
Ball still in play in the far side though. Brazil still leading by 3-0, and that's a corner kick.
Yeah, Brazil
Hugely worked.
Sorry, the second half, they really are taking a little bit easier, but the signs now Brazil are looking for a fourth goal. Ronaldo trying to get the little tunnel, and he goes down in between two defenders, the referee having none of it.
I wonder if the players themselves want to be just a little bit kinder to the Mexicans. Leonardo's with it. Try to sweep that in. Leonardo again, and he appeals for a penalty. But I think the referee, in a charitable mood, simply isn't going to relent to that.
Well, he doesn't agree, does he? Shaking his head, but I think unless it's absolutely clear-cut, the referee's not going to give it.
Well, here he goes.
Mix up in defence, and I think there was contact there, to be fair to him.
Yeah, I think there was. I think maybe under other circumstances, the referee might have awarded a penalty. Well, Leonardo not only played for Paris Saint-Germain, had experience in Spanish football with Valencia. Didn't quite settle there, so it's a great signing. Brought back to Paris Saint-Germain by the Brazilian Ricardo, who's now the joint coach. Oh, Marcio Santos, not happy with that. A lot of these Brazilian players, of course, simply having to go to Europe to make some money for themselves. That's where the money now is. Brazilian clubs finding it very hard to compete with the major European clubs. And 8 of these players, of course, are playing in Europe. Played there by Cafu. With a 1-2, Ronaldo does pick it up. He'll let fly, and again a corner. They are closing him down rather well, though, Alan.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think he was in two minds there, whether to try and strike early. Then he took another touch, and eventually the Mexican defender swarming round him. He's had a little bit of an unhappy night. You know, he's a top player. 3-0 up and not on the score sheet. I just thought there he was going to let fly, but he took another touch, and then just a little bit too late.
I also just wonder if the Mexicans tonight thought that Ronaldo would be a greater threat than Romario, and Romario's just got off a little bit more lightly.
Yeah, perhaps, but I just think no matter what one you watch, you're always in danger.
The corner, and straight to the goalkeeper, Adolfo Rios. Playing, by the way, because Jorge Campos has had a sequence of injuries. He would be the first choice goalkeeper, and undoubtedly they'll get him fit for the finals themselves. So we have exactly 20 minutes remaining. And if the second half has been something of a disappointment, maybe in a sense we shouldn't be too surprised about the anticlimax, because we got so much packed into that first half hour. Mandilia to Bernal. Mandilia again. Luis Garcia. Mandilia, and Hernandez couldn't pick it up. The Brazilians simply allowing them to play the ball about in that zone. Way to go again. Mario had come back deep, doing that more and more often. And his passing can be very telling in midfield. Puts it to Roberto Carlos.
Each Brazilian player, they're so confident on the ball. When we watched England play Mexico a few weeks ago, and they were just not in the same sort of commanding position and the comfortable position the Brazilian players are.
Cafu. The play centered in midfield. Neither team making much progress, and I think that'll be a throw to Mexico. I think another substitution coming up for Mexico. On comes Cuauhtemoc Blanco. You should see Blanco's first name. I do think it is Cuauhtemoc. So very readily we'll call him Blanco.
And from all the internationals I've seen this season, I really feel that for the European teams, I think Brazil are obviously a major threat. I think they will carry the South American challenge to the European sides next year in France.
Well, the player who's just come on, Blanco, remembered by the Brazilians. He was the man who scored one of the 2 goals when Mexico beat Brazil in the Gold Cup, the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Here they go again. Bernal. Easily brushed aside. The big man up front, Carlos Hermosillo, really hasn't had a look in this game.
I think the Brazilians now are saying, okay, we've had a little breather, let's get the 4th and final goal. I'm sure they'd like to entertain this crowd with one more goal.
Cafu. Dunga telling them to push forward, and he does, but the pass is bad. Played out of that difficulty by Ramirez, the substitute. There he is. I don't think the Brazilians want to concede a goal, that's for sure. Bernal. That's a better looking ball inside. And I think he might get the free kick out of that. Worked very hard for it, the substitute Blanco.
And once again, had he got round the Brazilian fullback there was only one Mexican player in the box against 3 Brazilian players. 3-0 down, you have to take chances now and get people forward.
Free kick about to be taken. It'll be Alberto Coyote with it. And they concede the corner kick again, quite happy to do that. No great strain in them at all. Well, you know, the Brazilians are always very careful about whom they play in friendlies. It's a long time since they played England. Here's a corner kick, and I think there might have been a push on Taffarel. And that's a better shot at goal. In fact, I think it's the only shot at goal. And the sellers of drinks behind the goal think they've been so safe they weren't even looking at the game there. That's because they knew Mexico was shooting in that direction. Here's some of the highlights again. Little touch there by Ronaldo, brought down. He's fighting very hard for it. He desperately wants to go here. Oh, that's a lovely little ball. That's the hat-trick.
Well, we've said how quiet he's been tonight, Ronaldo, but what a beautiful pass that was inside the defender. Romario absolutely delighted. His hat-trick. Well, there's one for his coach. I can still do it at this level. 3 goals. But what a gorgeous ball from Ronaldo. And he showed great strength to get that ball back.
Well, he has in fact been very unselfish tonight, and here's an example of it.
Well, this is quality, absolute quality. Doesn't look to be anything on. Oh, that is inch perfect, and a good finish for the hat-trick.
Well, I think we've seen at least 2 goals tonight that have been right out of the textbook. One in terms of spectacular scoring, and the other in terms of passing and finishing.
Well, poor Rios, he's really been on the end of quality finishing. And no doubt about it, Romario, there you can see the delight in his face there. It's always lovely to get a hat-trick, but at this level, superb.
Well, you know, players in the past have decided to, I could put it in rougher parlance, but show the coach something, and he's done it tonight. Well, play goes on, and Brazil with it. They're now 4 goals in the lead, cantering now with 15 minutes of the game remaining.
He's thinking, can Romario...
That's a better ball, yes. Well, he's trying it here, but Ronaldo, and again he goes down. I think you're absolutely right in what you read about this man. I think at the start of the season, he would have been much crisper and picked that up sharper. Here we go. That's the substitute, Blanco. Now played inside by Bernal. Not a bad ball forward, but I think the flag was up for offside. At least they had an element of penetration there. Beautifully touched on there by Roberto Carlos. I think the free kick. Yes, indeed. Dunga. That's a ball again intended to use the running style and pace of Ronaldo. Pardo. Now at the back, we've not really seen very much of Davino. Garcia Aspe. Should just be captain. Mario coming back. What a run forward. I think that was Jalmina. Well, you think they would think now it's over, the Brazilians. But you can never tell. I've seen them in so many games touching the ball around like this, and then suddenly this amazing electrifying bust that they have. Romario. Oh, Romario goes off, and on comes Edmundo. He's got his hat-trick. He's proved his point. He's back in this Brazilian side with some style, flair, and with the combination with Ronaldo producing the kind of effervescence that will make this side, again, one of the favorites for the World Cup. And even Bebeto, at the venerable age of 34, is a man that Zagallo is thinking of taking along as well. And onto the field in his place comes Edmundo, the bad boy of Brazilian football, the man who's had more suspensions than anybody else in the last couple of decades. There he is. I beg your pardon, that's Luis Garcia. Edmundo, who looks very much like him, I hasten to add. You'll see him in just a moment. Edmundo has had consistent battles with authority. And he even went to the extent of suing the Brazilian Federation at one time. But having said that, a brilliantly talented player. Galinha. Now Ronaldo. Little change of pace there. And good tackling eventually. Well, the Brazilians in the crowd loved it away in the far side. He tried to take on the two opponents. 10 minutes left. Well, there's no way that Mauro Silva was going to lose that. Just kept at it. Real tenacity, which shows up the physical side of the Brazilians as well. Yeah, looks a strong, comfortable player on the ball, but a good physical size. There's Ronaldo now. Could he put it away? Tries it! And again he's off. Well, you know, this is very reminiscent, Alan, of the performances he turned in when he played in the Olympics. He was almost there, but never quite, and eventually they had to substitute him.
Well, I think he's had such a sparkling season. He just, everything touch turns to gold. But he's having an off night tonight. This time goes for power, and that's easily a good metre and a half wide. Good build-up again. Now, you'd think there, it's a golden opportunity, but he just scuffs it wide.
I think we've also got to remind ourselves consistently that he's still a very young player, still maturing.
The good news for Brazil fans is he keeps getting in the right area, keeps getting into the scoring chances, and eventually, you know, on a better night, he could add a hat-trick, just like his strike partner.
Well, Zagallo is keeping him on the field in any case. Well, with about 8 minutes to go, I lay you the bet of a nice glass of wine, Alan, that he does put the ball in the back of the net, because I think he desperately wants to. And I think that's a good sign too. I mean, after all, they are 4 goals up. It is a friendly international, but he's keeping at it.
If you're going to miss them, this is the games to miss them in, friendlies. He'll be back, no problem about that.
That's Ramirez on this left-hand side. Putting inside, Coyote picks it up. On the far side, again the substitute getting it. But no effective progress. Run down the outside by Bernal, but the ball doesn't come to him. Here's the captain again. That's neat footwork by Garcia Aspe.
Again, Brazil, plenty bodies in that box, plenty defenders. And this fella, well, if it stays the same, 4-0, he'll be ruining the missed chances first and second half.
Honest sweat there. And every little bead of sweat is worth about £10,000, I think, Alan.
Well, I don't think he's too worried about his bank balance.
This is Cafu. Referee coming down to have, we're getting a substitution here. It's Sampaio coming on. Sampaio comes on now, and up comes Silva.
Substitution for the Brazilian team.
Well, the director's very kindly bringing us back to the football, and here is Ronaldo. The ball just whipped away from him. Mandia. Luis Garcia. Hat-trick by Romario. That's the significant thing of the night. Firmly established once again in this Brazil side. Drumming out a very spectacular warning to everybody. Oh, beautiful ball inside by Sampaio there. Nobody coming up. Cafu not bursting forward in the same dramatic way he did in the first 20 minutes. Not surprisingly, with about 6 minutes remaining. Mandilia. Picked up by Dunga. Not a spectacular player, Dunga, but as Alan said, a solid player. They need whatever the effervescence and brilliance of the play, they do need a base to construct it on, and he is that, or one of them. Well, Sampaio came on and certainly is providing an influence already coming down this right-hand side.
Yeah, I think Mexico now, Archie, are just desperate to hear the final whistle. It's been really, they've had a chasing tonight, there's no doubt about it. Brazil's passing, movement, touch on the ball has just been on a much higher plane than this Mexican side.
Sampaio trying to go away again there. And it's a free kick. Just under 5 minutes remaining. Dunga wanted to take that very quickly.
It's always lovely with the Brazilian crowd in the background. You can hear it's a constant noise throughout a game.
Something worries me about this, Alan, because we've made the point that this is a friendly international and we've seen some marvelous stuff and great goals. I wonder, in the reality of the World Cup, of this Brazilian philosophy or style will be put away back again, and they'll go down to the hard doer business of simply defending their title as they do every time, or at least since 1970, since they've come to Europe.
Well, I think they've learned a lesson. Sometimes they've been too extravagant and attacking. They get bodies forward very quick, and sometimes too many get forward. And I think they've learned the lesson. Tonight has been no test for them. They've been fluent, but when they come to France next summer, it'll be a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I just think they'll be more defensive. There's little doubt about that, Leonardo. Well, that's a shot by Roberto Carlos, and really his first in the game tonight.
But that reminded me of that glorious goal back in the 70s when Carlos Alberto just arrived and blasted it right-footed to the corner of the net. But they do, it's lovely when the Brazilians get forward at pace. And once again, and that was only a whisker away.
Well, they've been rather more subdued in the second half, but every now and again we've seen these little nuggets that come from the definitive style of Brazilian football. Quickness of foot and eye. Dunga. All they want to do is hold on to the ball now. Jamina. And again, when you look at the number of players that Brazil can call on, they've got younger players, they've got even more mature players. And of course, the man I think has galvanized English football, if you like, Juninho, he's not here.
Nor Emerson, you know, they really have got a sparkling squad to pick from. And they're taking this build up nice and slowly. Come next summer, they'll be absolutely ready for it. Excuse me.
And Mexico, I think, just delighted to get this game finished now. It could have been even worse for them.
But they got off to a dreadful start. The early goal, I think the writing was on the wall that Brazil were going to turn on the style.
Played there by Pardo, and there he is again. Makes you dizzy, that high camera, I must say. This will be broken up, I think. Well, there's only about a minute and a half left, and I think I'm going to lose that bet, Alan. I think Ronaldo maybe has given up for the night. And all the Brazilians are doing is, again, ending a move round about the 18-yard line.
I think as Brazil have been great, I think the Mexicans have been very disappointing. Nothing up front, no real threat. They haven't tested the World Cup champions.
And I wonder if some of Bora Milutinovic's enemies will take this as evidence against them. Garcia Aspe. Stab back. Ramirez. Played by Blanco. And only the one player, Ronaldo, in the Mexican half, as we come towards the end of the game. And, you know, Brazilian goalkeepers in the past, nobody wants to be a goalie in Brazil anyway. All the little boys in Copacabana Beach is a bit of a sissy if you want to be a goalkeeper. Sometimes find it difficult to get goalkeepers, but another reason is they always stand as spectators in games. Well beyond the attack that time. Leonardo, we're into stoppage time, and back it goes to Tafarel. They've certainly come up with some eccentric goalkeepers in the past as well. Looks for a little 1-2 here. It might be on yet. Leonardo sweeps it through. There's no offside. Strong run, and who's up here? Looked like a little bit of a push on Ronaldo. I would have given him a penalty kick.
I think you've lost your bet, Archie.
Play still going on, and that was a fairly brisk tackle there, I have to say, Sampaio. Now on the far side, Bernal. Down by Mandilia. I think the crowd would love a real climax to this game with a spectacular goal again. Maybe it's asking too much. No, it is. The final whistle is gone. And I think this game will be long remembered, friendly though it is, for that amazing first 30 minutes. A little glimpse there of the man who didn't score a goal tonight, but who certainly helped his more experienced partner, Romario, gain his hat-trick with one of the most spectacular goals we've seen all season. Romario putting almost a copyright on that. Just look at the way he drove this into the back of the net. And then the ball swept over to him by Ronaldo, and slipping it under the goalkeeper might have been just a little bit unfortunate. But the play leading up to it, and especially in the first 30 minutes, was a joy to be behold. There, the celebration very spectacularly within the stadium, with the final score 4-0. Well, there we are. Brief word from Alan Brazil, my co-commentator tonight.
Brazil weren't tested, but silky skills first half. Great display first half, and they coasted through.
Well, there we are. Spectacular performance